I can get 6 of them for $20, so it's like,
hell yeah,
hey.
yeah, hell yeah,
It's pretty great.
Holy shit, I feel like it would just swallow me, probably.
I kind of want to put
Dude, bring one over just so I can see. I bet it's crazy.
No, this happened.
We did this. That's
you put
right.
one on at Festivus, and then you crawled inside of it.
This is at the beach house.
This is the beach house.
Oh, okay, it was at the beach house.
I pulled it over your face.
Yeah.
I don't know that I
don't think you ever tried it on,
though.
No.
Yeah.
No, you were wearing it, and like one or both of us crawled inside of it while you were in it.
Right. We have a photograph of Gavin.
Well, I have a photo of you inside.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's what we did? Okay. Yeah. I couldn't remember exactly.
The caption was something about the new...
what fucking... The new something movie looks like.
Oh, god damn it. It's the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He goes to Mars.
The new Total Recall. Yeah.
This new Total Recall looks lit. Yeah.
Start the reactor.
Oh, that was a fun time.
Yeah, that was good shit. Yeah.
But yeah, I will definitely bring...
Never mind, that wasn't...
No.
You definitely didn't miss your chance to try on one of those shirts. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
That was my New Year's outfit.
I also have a 5X hoodie, which is not as dramatic as the shirts, unfortunately, but it's still a fucking tent of a hoodie.
Oh, I'm sure I can still just like ball up inside it.
It's weird though because it's not long.
Long sleeves
it's
tougher because I
wide.
gotta like try to get it back all the way up.
Right. Well, and the sleeves. See, this is.
Oh, so they just made it big this way.
Yeah,
but still
this
like
feeds into my
this
gripe about plus size clothing. Is like the arms are basically the same as a fucking XL hoodie, but they're just tacked onto this enormous body.
Well, and I hate when they go out but not down. It's like, what do you think happens to fabric once it goes out?
It's like no one can wear this.
Yeah,
literally
it still needs to come back. Like
they're gonna have to wear pants that come up to here in order for it to fit them.
Yeah.
Like it's just.
It feels like that's like. Have you ever like seen a fat person? Like, do you know like how
exactly
human bodies work?
Well,
like,
I couldn't even fit my head through the opening for the fucking hood.
Really?
I was like, what even is this?
It's like, dude, if like. I'm probably starting as a pretty large human before like any adjustments from there. So like, why is everything like built for a cat? I don't know.
It's just like this. This really is a boring fucking dystopia. Like, god damn it!
Yep.
And I now know why fat people cut that fucking slit.
Yeah, no shit.
In all of the fucking gear, it's because they make these tiny neck holes for fat people stuff, and it's like, why? Why would you do that? Like,
Dude, and even like tall people, and like it's just like, oh no, maybe you just have a larger head and like a beefy neck, you know?
Yep.
Just like this is like a thing that happens to all sorts of different people. So like, why are the neck holes like this?
Yeah,
I swear that they either aren't using a model for these things, or they're like,
well, so like, how interesting is it that like we might reach a place in the near future where with like scan technology and stuff that I can just like scan my body in, and people could just do made to order clothes.
They've had vending machines in Japan that do this for a decade. Like,
really?
You can just walk in, get a body scan, and it'll print you a t-shirt.
Whoa.
So
and it'll be like, this thing will fit you perfectly. Like,
I'm just saying, you can technically do that already, and it's just called like taking your measurements. They have like
I know.
that they take, and like they will just make you any clothing you want.
I understand that measurements exist already, but we can get really fine-tuned and accurate with body scans. Like, I understand that tailoring is
actually, it's gonna blow your mind. It's been around for
you might want to sit down for this.
Wait till you hear about this. Yes, I understand that. I know that this technology's been around, but now it's like we'll be able to really fine tune it. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
But it will be interesting, right? Like, don't you think that at a certain point, once that technology is just total commonplace, because paying a tailor is expensive. Like, if I want to get tailored clothing, it's expensive. But if I can just, scan in my whole body and then just have that as like a little upload file, so wherever I buy from, and you can go to all these different sites and be like, all right, I need clothes from you, upload my body, and then they're just like, boom, we make it for you. And
dude,
like,
full body scan, you can get custom condoms. Like,
oh man,
oh man,
okay.
I'm just saying, like now you can get all sorts of products.
I'm on board for this idea.
For your 10-inch Smithers.
I need a Magnum that leans a little to the left.
Right? No. This is also a thing too. Apparently, like really high-end tailors have like a code of asking like which way your boy leans.
Which way you like to ride?
Yeah.
Which side of the saddle you lean into?
Yeah, totally. And they'll kind of there's like a phrase for it though, of just like, how would you like this cut, basically? And it's like, oh, to the left or to the right.
I mean, I guess I do lean to the left. Like, actually, I'd never even thought about it, but yeah, it's just
everyone's got a
kind of
lean
that way.
Yeah, probably.
Which one's yours?
I think a left. I think it's a left lean. Yeah,
Yeah.
Artistic brain, causes a lean to the left.
Got a right-brained penis.
Yeah, totally. Oh man, someone should do studies about that, though.
I mean, I feel like somebody already is, but they just don't know that they are.
Yeah.
And they need to get some funding.
Hell yeah.
They're gonna add that shit to the census, man.
Ooh.
Wow.
This is just a stream of good ideas.
What's the government gonna do with that information?
I mean, I don't make it public so that we can all enjoy it. I don't know.
Yeah, just like...
No, there's that dude who does I think it's American Family Insurance or something like that. He was the president on the show 24, and he's been on some other shows. Okay. But he wears these kind of swishy khakis, and apparently they had to do tons of reshoots with him because like his dude was just so prominent, like under the khakis, and so and I think eventually they started kind of like filming at certain angles and like doing lighting in a certain way so you couldn't just sort of see it fucking through the pants.
They had to dumb down his dong?
Basically, dude. Yep.
Jesus. I mean, you're packing heat when they gotta fucking
right. Yeah, they gotta
the lighting.
CGI the fucking
I'm sorry, sir, you're gonna have to put that thing away. This is as far as it goes.
Yeah. Man. Yeah, well, you gotta feel all right about that. You're like, all right, well.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's just
bring in some technicians, dude. I don't know what to tell you.
Right? It's like, I mean, like, what do you need? Like a high five train? Like, do you want us to pin a medal on you? Like, shit.
Man, every time I hit the record button, Winnie just starts going crazy.
It's like she knows.
She absolutely knows. That's so funny. All right, sick. Well, let's fucking do this thing.
Yeah.
All right. Hell yeah. Welcome to Coming Down, everyone. My name is Nathan. I am here with Matthew.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, man. So, what's been going on? We're still a little off kilter with our schedule, so again, apologies to everyone, but we'll get back on the train here.
Yeah, I feel like it's all coming out in the wash somehow. We're still recording every week, so
we are. Yep.
Even if the production schedule's a little off kilter, like we're still maintaining.
Yep.
But yeah, like, dude, it's been a thing. Like, fucking winter is upon us.
Yeah,
like
it really is. It's chilly out.
Oh man. Yeah, I've just been dealing with the usual holiday seasonal depression and like muddling through, but I will say that like I've had to take stock and be like, and just think about where I was last year at this time, and wow, is it just
big difference?
Different world.
Big difference. Yeah, like we're still deep in a pandemic, but it's like very different.
Yeah, I mean, the pandemic cannot be downplayed, but I mean, vaccines are a thing now, and they weren't back then. Like
they were not.
I think the first jabs came down the week after Christmas last year, and that was just for healthcare workers.
Yeah, so, that's about right. Because I got mine in like April, I think. Yeah, March, late March, early April. So yeah.
So at this time last year, I was still afraid that going to the grocery store might land me in the hospital or kill me.
Right? Yeah, totally.
We're doing a lot better.
Yeah.
Like Delta sucked, but I got my third jab, and that felt great. Now we got a new fucking name that's running around that
Fingers crossed for, we're just going to work through the whole Greek alphabet.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But I love how Omicron just sounds like the villain from a Transformers movie. Like it's...
Oh, yeah, Omicron.
I am Omicron.
Right? Totally. Or what's the Simpsons character?
Oh, the aliens from Omicron Persei 8?
Yeah, exactly.
Who actually have that in their name?
Yeah.
How we don't have a shitload of memes about those aliens right now, I don't understand.
Oh, man.
Yeah, like we've got.
Right, I haven't seen an abundance of those.
Right, like
I've been staying a little dark on the internet because I haven't seen the new Spider-Man. So, and I don't know what I'm gonna do about that. Like, because we were renting these theaters, but now that seems like that ship has sailed. Like it's harder. Yeah. Like all the showtimes are sold out.
Yeah, they're getting enough people buying tickets.
Yeah, so I guess like, how much do I risk it for Spider-Man? You know?
we got to take a look at Studio One theaters over by my house. They do do the rentals, so it's kind of like a private room kind of thing.
Yeah, that place is cool. I'm glad they've hung on through all of this.
For sure.
Okay, yeah, we'll look at that. All right, off-air combo. Oh yeah, man. Well, I've got a little prompt for us to talk about, but I'll just do the housekeeping stuff. So, thanks everyone for listening. As always, we really appreciate it. And if you want to hit us up with any feedback, hit us at comingdownpod on Twitter or comingdownpod@gmail.com. And yeah, we just love to hear from you if you just have anything you want to shoot our way.
Yeah, send us some dick pics. Who cares,
dude? Literally, I mean, just any feedback's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, send us your 10-inch Smithers, dude. Or your 10-inch Mr. Burns. I don't know.
I mean, whatever floats your boat.
Yeah. And and we are doing the patreon.com/comingdownpod. Just for $1 a month, it just helps us pay for the hosting, and then we've got goodies and swag and stuff that we'll send you if you do that. So really appreciate everyone who's helping us out with that. And yeah, totally.
Love you guys.
Yeah. So given that it is the holiday season, but fuck Christmas. Fuck,
bah humbug. That's what I say.
Look, fuck, Christmas as a whole. Like, I like lights. I like wintry stuff. I like cozying up next to the fire. I like these things, right?
I enjoy sweaters, jackets, and rosy-cheeked people of all kinds.
Yeah, totally. And one thing you get with the Christmas season is snow. And we don't really get it here much, although we just did have our little friends party a couple days ago, and it snowed here in Portland, and that doesn't happen often, and usually when it does, it fucks everyone's shit up, so it's never really received well here. Like, it's kind of exciting for a minute, and then everyone's like, cool, we can't get anywhere.
It's a fucking disaster.
Yeah.
I mean...
And for those who don't know, and I don't know the actual, how it actually works here, but, it doesn't snow in quantity enough here to have, a whole response team.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there. I know you were, just trying to fucking break some shit down, but Clackamas can plow all of their fucking streets in one day. They have enough snowplows to do it.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Well, when I moved here, I was told that there just basically weren't snowplows and there wasn't really a response team, and they would bring plows down from Mount Hood and stuff like that.
That's the line, is that Portland doesn't get enough snow to warrant having a fleet of snowplows. However, Seattle has a fucking fleet of snowplows.
Yeah.
And they don't get fucking snow either.
Yeah.
Clackamas has a fleet of snowplows, and they're at the same fucking elevation as a lot of Portland.
I mean, we're a stone's throw from Clackamas.
Yeah,
here,
exactly.
So
after Clackamas plows their streets, those plows then turn to Portland streets.
Okay.
And we also get the plows from Estacada and...
so does the Clackamas municipality just have more funding, and they're just we get the plows first?
I think it's more important to their constituents or whatever the fuck.
Sure.
I honestly don't know the politics behind it.
It's a little bit of a richer county, I guess.
I mean, maybe, but
yeah.
I don't know. You'd think that the West Hills would at least be clamoring for some fucking snowplows.
Well,
anyway,
again, for those who don't know, when you're in Portland and it snows, however it works, whatever the actual details are, there is not a response team that gets it dealt with in any real capacity.
No.
And it's usually just a whole ass mess, and the city shuts down for a day or more, depending on how long that snow sticks around, and sometimes it turns to ice. And
they're banking on it melting within a day or two, and mostly it's just due to tire friction, cars driving over it, just turning it into slush.
And that's often, what happens, and Yeah, and then it's fine. And yeah, and when we get just like the inch or two, it's like, all right. But when we get dumped on, it's like a whole ass problem. Here.
Well, and so what's been happening in like the last decade or so, and it's certainly not the first time that it's happened, but it's been happening with greater frequency, is we'll get snow, it'll stick for a little bit, it'll turn into slush, and then it'll freeze.
Yeah.
And then it rains on top of that, and that freezes, and it creates these layers of ice, and sometimes it'll fucking snow on top of that.
Yep.
And then there's like a layer of ice with water, and then snow on top of that, and then that fucking freezes, etc., etc.
Yeah. And then even plows can't really deal with it.
Right. You just end up with this layer of compacted snow, ice, and, you know, even like sometimes a layer of water in between layers of ice.
Yep.
on the streets, and it's just a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, it's a whole ass mess.
Absolutely.
But not here to talk about that, because we both grew up in high desert.
Exactly.
So, you know, you were in Bend, I was in Fort Collins, but the climates between those two towns was remarkably similar. It was a very high desert place.
Very dry, powdery snow is what we're known for.
Yep. And, you know, and you could count on snow during the winter. Like,
right.
You'd probably get a blizzard every winter and you know, multiple rounds of snow.
Absolutely. But for those who don't know, the snow over there, the way that it's, because it's so dry, when it compacts, it just kind of makes this thick layer of snow. It doesn't necessarily turn into ice. Sometimes it'll get maybe a crust on the top, but it stays snow, just packed.
Yep. Totally. So it's pretty well. So it's easier to manage to at least like plow the roads and stuff.
Absolutely.
So this is what I wanted to talk about. Like neither of us have a whole story about snow. You know, well.
maybe a time or two.
You know, I've had a white Christmas in my day before. But no, I just thought it would be fun, like for the holiday season, to like, you know, not talk about Christmas, not talk about the bullshit capitalist nonsense that is Christmas, but just the winter season and that fun, cozy feeling of you get the big snow around this time of year, and
dude,
you just
yes.
and you do the cozy stuff. You make hot chocolate, you sit around the fire, you do puzzles, you play games, you hang out with your family and your friends, and like that's the shit, man. Like that gets me right in the spirit, man. Tag right in the spirit.
Right. Well, and I don't know. A lot of my snow stories are a little less cozy.
Well, okay, yeah. So obviously we've also dealt with the bummer parts of snow.
Oh no, but maybe a little more shreddy. Like
okay.
There was for those of you who didn't grow up in high desert towns, like we never got snow days. Like the buses had snow tires. Like we had snow plows. They in Bend they put cinders on the road instead of salt because there's a fucking volcano everywhere you look out there. So like we just had huge piles of cinder that they were mining for these little stones that they would put on the road for traction.
Oh yeah.
It was hell on your windshield and your paint job, but
and fucks the roads up.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
But
you can't do salt in a lot of places because of the environment. Because if you salinate the rivers and the lakes and things around, it'll fuck up fish populations and like it's a whole ass thing.
It's kind of a bad idea in general. Also, cars from the Pacific Northwest are known for having very little to no rust on them because we have no salt on the roads. Oh, so cars in Bend tend to have a pretty high resale value because of that. That's academic.
That's interesting. Huh.
But so we never had snow days because it always snowed. Mm-hmm. So in order for the school district to cancel school, there had to be enough snow on the road that they couldn't feasibly get the plows out to every road in town in time for the buses to run, and that meant probably in excess of like 8 to 10 inches. I'm not really sure what the limit was, but it was rare that we would get enough of a snowfall in one night.
Yeah, I think in the entirety of my school history, 2 3 snow days, maybe.
Yeah.
2 or 3, and they were all early on. And the legend in my town was that the guy who called the snow days, like whatever district position he had, apparently he was from Alaska.
Oh shit! Even if it's not true, that's the best.
And again, this is like
legend.
probably urban legend, but it might have been
so
true. But that it did feel like that made sense as to why we never got snow days, because this fucking guy was just like, well, this ain't shit compared to Alaska. And,
old Bill's from Anchorage. He doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, man. Yeah, talk about fucking walking uphill both ways and 10 feet of snow.
It's like, if there's not a glacier on the road, then I don't care.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But so yeah, we also rarely got snow days.
Hell yeah. And I mean, sometimes there would be like a delay. We'd listen to the radio in the morning because there'd be snow on the ground and it hadn't been plowed yet, and we're just like, come on! And they'd announce that like school had been delayed for an hour or 2 or something. And I was like, oh, okay, well, at least we get to miss a little bit, But
and the delay, that's so bunk too.
Yeah.
What are parents supposed to do with that? Especially parents who like drive their kids into school on their way to work and shit. Like, oh well, guess I'm.
Well, they couldn't get to work either, though.
Yeah, I guess
the
that's
roads
true.
weren't plowed,
I guess that's true.
It's just a whole ass thing, but it was rare. It was very rare.
Yeah.
Even the partial delays or the half days or whatever. Those were super rare. And I'm not sure exactly how many I got in my career, but it wasn't often.
Yeah.
That said, there was one year, I want to say I was in the 8th grade. I might have been a freshman, but I want to say it was 8th grade. It snowed a foot overnight.
Hell yeah.
And it was just the lightest, fluffiest fucking powder. Oh my god. If I'd been old enough to get up to the mountain at that point, I would have lost my goddamn mind. Yeah. But what I did instead was I got up, confirmed that school wasn't happening, and I asked my brother Zach if I could borrow his sled. And he said, sure. And I said, hey, Mom, I'm going to... Oh, and I think I called my buddy Josh. Oh, that's right. I reconnoitered with Josh and Doug.
Okay.
And I was like, we don't have school. What are we going to do? And they're like, well, Josh's house is probably the closest to some gnarly sled hills. So, let's end up over there somehow.
Hell yeah.
And I was like, I got this. Because Josh's house was essentially at the bottom of the hill that I lived on.
Nice.
And this hill was a butte.
Yes,
it's Aubrey Butte, and I lived pretty much on the top, and the backside was just this snaky road all the way down to the road that connected to Josh's house. And I was just like, I'm gonna bomb this motherfucker on a sled.
Yeah, you're like, that's how I'm gonna get there.
Yup.
And then we're gonna go sledding all day.
Exactly, and it was so sick, dude. There was no tracks at all on the road.
Right.
No one had driven on it, no one had walked on it. It was pristine, and I'm just like, oh man,
go cutting that fresh gnar.
Exactly. And my brother had this sled where you just put your feet in these plastic cutouts, and then you just kind of sit in it and hold on. Mm-hmm. And it had these little plastic handbrakes that I knew weren't going to work for shit.
No.
But the cool thing was you could just kind of you were already gripping the sides, and if you leaned and yanked on it, you could really cut a line and fucking curve.
Oh, interesting. Now, was this a toboggan style sled?
No, it was essentially a shitty plastic luge that you didn't lay down.
I remember those, and they had the little plastic handles that you pulled up that were brakes in quotes.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's those weren't gonna fucking.
They weren't gonna fucking do anything. It might have been able to do an e-brake turn or something with it, but I knew it was just gonna send me spinning if I used them.
Totally.
But I knew if I just fucking reefed my weight on one side and pulled on the other, that it would turn me, right?
Oh yeah, and so you could carve a little, yeah.
Yeah, and this road, like I said, just kind of snaked down the backside of the hill, and it was steep as fuck.
Hell yeah.
Summit. It was called Summit Boulevard, I think, or Summit Avenue. Anyway, so I'm just right where it starts to slope downhill. I just got a running start, threw the sled out, hopped onto it, and just fucking took off. And I got going so fast that I was freaked out that I was gonna have to just bail.
Yeah.
But I'm I don't know, man. Where am I gonna bail? It's just all asphalt under the snow, and if I bail off onto the curb, that's gonna be even worse. And I'm bro, you just gotta go for it.
Yeah.
So I'm just like leaning really hard into these turns, and like the sled's fucking shaking, and I'm just like, oh fuck.
Oh man.
I finally get down to the bottom of the hill, and I'm just like so pumped, just like yes, I was fucking sick. Ugh.
Dude, the sled shaking is like in the movies when like the spaceship's going too fast and they're pushing it too hard and everything's like rattling around. It's like
yes, dude.
Hell yeah.
My teeth are fucking rattling in my head. I'm just like, oh fuck.
Hold.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, and you get through that turn, like there's a little bit of a straight shot, but it's just like you're still hauling ass, and it's like I already have to start carving for the next one. You know,
hell yeah.
Like, oh my god. But yeah, and then it was a pretty easy like slide down the next road, and then I just kind of hiked over to Josh's house, and Doug got there eventually, and then we just hiked all over this golf course, like finding these big steep hills down these holes.
A golf course, that's the move. Yeah.
It was fucking sweet.
Ooh, that's sick, dude. Hell yeah.
We were out there for like almost 10 hours. Like,
oh man,
Doug's feet were fucking frozen by the time we got home.
When you're a kid, you can just do that shit too. You're just like, I don't care, man. It's a playground that, it's like a playground that doesn't come around that often, and so you're just like, I gotta experience it all. I gotta just do it all. And like, you have enough warm clothes. Like, your socks and your mittens and your shit is like soaked by the end of the day, but like usually the coat keeps you warm, so it's fine.
I had some fucking cheap knockoff Sorels that were just like lined with wool and shit, so like I didn't give two fucks.
Hell yeah.
And this army surplus like fucking winter jacket. Like,
hell yeah.
I was fine. Like I was just charging around in that shit. It was great.
Oh man. So my similar account. Oh man, this was. I mean, if you had to ask me like, what was the greatest day of your life? Like, it's like getting married. Like seeing like Beck and the Flaming Lips play together. I don't know.
Yes.
There's just like there's a few I can rattle off the top of my head, but this has to crack the top 5.
Sick.
And it was this weekend where and if I recall right, so I had this friend named Jim, and I had grown up with him my whole life up to this point. We were probably like 10 or 11, maybe even like 12 at this point, because I had bought I must have been like 12 or 13 actually, because I had realized I wanted to look like a skateboarder in junior high because they all dressed cool.
Hell yeah.
But I couldn't skateboard. But what I could do was ride a BMX, and I was bad at that too.
Right.
But as long as I owned one and had the pegs, it didn't matter. And then I could walk around school and be like, I'm a BMXer, And people are like, oh, you're dressing like a skater. I'm like, oh, I'm a BMXer, so I get to dress like this. Anyway.
It's so wild how, like, you had to, like... How everyone was gatekeeping subcultures back then, even people who didn't belong in them. Like,
well, and in junior high, it doesn't matter, right? Like, junior high is like just the gatekeeping world. Junior high is like the worst years of anyone's life.
Human beings are pretty much the worst people that they will ever be in middle school.
Yeah, kids are mean. You haven't figured out who you are, like, and who you're gonna be, like, even moving into high school, because it feels like there's pressure to like decide what kind of high school person you're gonna be, and you've just moved out of like elementary land where you're like, well, I'm not a kid anymore, but I'm this awkward human being who doesn't know who I am,
filled with hormones and awkwardness.
Yep, totally. And so they're literally the worst years of most people's lives, because you're just like, I don't fucking know.
Oh yeah.
So I had a little dyno with pegs, and I had just bought it too, and I had like good tires and stuff. And so my friend Jim came over for the weekend, and we might have known it was gonna blizzard, but maybe not the way it did. And he had moved a little bit out of town, so I think my parents were like, you can have like a double sleepover, like he'll come over Friday and go home Sunday. I was like, sick, dude, spend all weekend with my boy Jim. And so he came over, and then the first night that he was there, it just started dumping, man. Like 6 p.m., it's just dumping snow. And it was yeah, dude, and we were just like, oh hell yeah, dude, we're gonna have this all weekend.
Yes.
We're just like, snow weekend, my man.
Fuck yeah.
And we had kind of been like, oh, okay, maybe we'll like play video games this night or whatever. But we went out there, and it was one of those like weird snows where like the clouds were in low, and so it was warm.
Yeah.
Like it's snowing, but it's warm. And it's dumping just big fat flakes and chunks.
Chunky stuff.
Just they're chunking together, and it's like fat, but it's still like a little bit fluffy. It's not just coming down as slush.
Right, because it's dry where it's cold.
Yeah, and it's still dry in Colorado, so it's just like, it's chunky, dry snow. It was like one of the weirdest snows I've ever seen, and it led to this just perfect scenario where, again, there's no one out on the road, and it's nighttime too. Like, started at like 5 or 6. By like 7 or 8, I mean, there's over a foot on the ground, if not more. It was glorious. It came down a lot, and so we went out there, and because actually I think we got tasked with shoveling the drive. It was like, hey, you guys should go shovel the drive. I'm like, all right, and so we start shoveling the drive, and then we're like clumping it up, and we're like, man, these piles that we're making, like, they're pretty sturdy, pretty sturdy.
Yeah.
Like, what if we pack these in a little, and then we just start, like, and then it, like, comes to us, right? And so we just start taking all the snow, and we just start piling it out into the road.
Yep.
And we made a fucking, like, not a quarter pipe, but like a wedge ramp, like a 45-degree wedge ramp. Yeah, dude, we were like, okay, we built this ramp, we'll shovel out, like, the runway, and then behind the wedge ramp, we just shoveled a bunch of other snow, and we're like, then we've just got, like, a crash pad, so it doesn't even matter. Like, we're gonna slip and slide all over the place, but once we go off this ramp, we're just gonna land in piles of fucking snow.
Hell yeah.
So we can't really hurt ourselves, and that is what we proceeded to do for, like, 3 straight hours. And it was the shit, dude.
That sounds awesome.
It took a second because we had to, the first iteration wasn't packed down quite enough, so get the fucking running start and, like, basically just, like, crash into the fucking wedge ramp, and, like, the tire just, like, plows through it, and we kind of, like, destroyed it the first time. We were like, okay, we need to pack it down, we need to reinforce it more. So we did that a couple times, but then eventually, as we kept repacking it, it became, like, hard snow ice sort of thing. And then with all our shoveling and maneuvering around, we just kept piling soft snow, like, behind it. And so then eventually we did have this legit, like, wedge ramp that we're just bombing down the road on my little dyno, flying off this thing. The bike goes flying out from under us, and then we just, like, fall into a pile of snow, dude. And, like, it was seriously, like, some of the most fun I've ever had in my life, because, and this was the other thing too, like I said, I was really bad at BMXing. I bought one so that I could dress the part.
Right.
But I was bad. I crashed. Every time I tried to go off ramps or, like, jumps, I crashed. Like, ouch. I was bad. Yeah, it's amazing I didn't hurt myself. Like, there were a number of times that I flew off big ramps, because we also had, like, a unofficial BMX course, like, right near my house.
Oh, shit.
And I went flying off ramps there multiple times, and then kind of same thing, bike just, like, flies out from under me, and I just hit dirt, like, roll, and amazingly didn't break anything, amazingly didn't hurt myself. Sorry, Mom, you probably knew a little bit about that, but, and so, but this was my opportunity to just be like, I suck at this, but I can just fly off this fucking ramp, dude, and catch, like, mad air, and just, like, it doesn't matter, dude, because I'm just gonna fall into snow. And so, seriously, that was probably one of the best nights of my life, because we were out there forever, dude. And again, it was warm, and we're riding bikes also, so, like, we weren't, like, we had hat and gloves on and stuff, but, like,
we didn't care, like,
but we were also in the big, like, Stay Puft marshmallow outfits and stuff, because it was so cold or whatever.
Exactly.
Just like, we can just be out here in a jacket, hat and gloves, and just, like, doing this fucking, launching our bike off this ramp we built out of snow.
That's so sick. Wow, man. Yeah, like, the only thing that I really have that compares to that is there was one, I think it must have been the weekend. I don't think we got to skip school for this one, but this is later in high school. Me and Doug and Sean were all going to go up to the mountain because it had just fucking dumped up there. I mean, like an unreal amount of snow. I think it was... I'm seriously not being hyperbolic when I say that I believe it was 4 feet of fresh.
Oh, that's not unreasonable for, like, high elevations.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, sometimes you can get, like, 10 fucking feet.
That's what I thought. It's been a long time since I was an avid, alpine person, but like,
sure. An alpine man.
I'm like, how do I generalize snowboarding and skiing? I don't know, but so like I was just like, I don't know if 4 feet seems unreasonable, but that's the number that I remember. So yeah, like
downhillsman,
a downhillsman indeed. But no, so it dumped like 4 feet of just the fucking driest, fluffiest powder the world has ever fucking seen on Mount Bachelor. Yeah. And we got up there, and I had never skied in this much powder before. Mind you, I think I've mentioned this before. I broke my leg when I was 14, and all my friends learned how to snowboard.
Yep.
But I kept skiing and would just go on all the fucking snowboard tracks with them and just like try to do snowboard tricks on my skis. Which was great. I got pretty decent at it.
Man,
but
skiing's cool too.
I love it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I've thought about trying to learn how to snowboard, but I'm fine with skiing.
You don't get to dress like a snowboarder, but it's okay.
I mean, I did. But
no, I'm kidding, you know.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
No, I BMX. It's cool.
Yeah, I BMX, man. No, I snowboard. Oh, you don't have to worry about it 3 months or 3 seasons out of the year.
Exactly.
Oh, none of you will ever see me. I'm just up on the mountain all winter.
Exactly.
Oh.
No, they were definitely that was a thing in my high school for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we get up to the mountain. I've never really been in powder this deep before. Like,
yeah,
I've seen a foot, maybe 2 feet of powder at most.
No, it's intense.
It's fucked. Like, you can't. you essentially have to lean back as hard as you can and just keep the tips of your skis above the powder, because if they go down at all, you're just gonna fucking bury yourself.
Yep.
And so at first, I'm being conservative because I'm used to the mountain being kind of fast, because I mean the runs that we usually went on were blue diamond or blue. They were blue runs at the easiest. Like we would do blue runs as a warm up, and then we're on black diamond the rest of the day.
Yep.
And so I'm kind of taking it slow at first, just figuring it out, and like end up going real slow, end up getting stuck. My friends are like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I'm just like, "Oh, I've never done this before." And they're like, "Keep your tips up, man. Just like lean back." And I'm like, all right, I got this. And pretty swiftly I learned that I was not going to get anywhere if I didn't just point myself down the hill and fucking go. Like, there's no traversing.
Right.
There's no switchbacks. There's no trying to slow down.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't matter because you're on top of 4 feet of snow.
You literally can't get going fast enough to do shit. So,
wild.
Yeah, it's just like, fucking, where do you want to go? Just point yourself there and fucking go.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, wow, this is fucking cool. Like, I'm just, let's do this.
Just flying.
Yeah, and so it's like, we're finding these like spots that are like little compressions where like it's just a nice lip that you can launch off of, and it's got a smooth downhill slope afterwards. It's easy to land on. It's just natural, and like we knew of a few like lines that we could take that were just different interconnected series of these, and like just taking little like hops through the woods and like little cool spots through the trees and shit. And like, dude, you could just fucking hurl yourself at these things.
Hell yeah.
And it didn't matter. Like, you weren't going to get going that fast anyway. And so Doug takes the first really big one. And, like, he kind of hesitates right at the end and essentially just kind of falls off of it. And we're like, oh, shit. And, like, me and Sean book it down to the lip. And, like, I think I even just went off. Like, I think I tried to make it look like I was just trying to, like, go after him, but I think I just didn't check my speed at the end. I just, like, went over the fucking thing and, like, landed next to Doug, and Sean's like, is he okay? Because he's, like, thrashing around down there.
Oh, man.
And I get down there, and he's laughing his ass off because he landed head first.
Oh,
and is fine.
And it's just like not a problem at all.
Yeah, and it's like a big drop too. I want to say it was like at least 10, if not 20 feet.
Yeah, you just got a face full of snow and was like, all right.
Didn't fucking matter.
Yeah, man.
He's like, man, can you just toss me one of your poles? Like, I can't get out of this hole that I made. You know? He's just like up to his fucking neck in snow.
Yeah.
He like took his snowboard off and put it up on top of the fucking hole so he could try to hoist himself out. And he's just packing more snow into the hole.
Oh, man.
Fucking hilarious. Sean sees what's going on, and like I'm trying to pull Doug out of the hole that he's in, and I'm just making my hole deeper, and like he's fucking dying laughing. Finally, like he fucking comes down. He's just like, you fucking idiots, let's go. we eventually dug ourselves out and like started going, but yeah, like that set the tone for the whole day. It's just like, hey, do you guys just want to be crash test dummies and like try to do the most stupid things that we can off of like big tall cliffs?
Yeah, 100%, man.
We can get away with it today.
Man, and those are the days. And I only went skiing a handful of times when I was a kid. And unfortunately never really went when I was a teenager or even an adult because like I just didn't have the money for it. And even some of my friends were mountain bums and stuff, but
yeah, these guys had season passes, but like I think I only, if I ever had a pass, it was like, you know, a certain number of days or like maybe I don't think I ever even bought a half season pass because I didn't have the money, man. Like my folks weren't fucking paying for that shit, that's for sure.
Yeah, when you're that age, you only have price for, you know, or you only have money for, you know, a hobby. And I was just trying to keep heads on my drums and drumsticks in my hands. So
yeah, and I was just trying to make sure that I was smoking enough weed.
Well, that too. You know. Yeah, I was also trying to smoke a lot of weed and like fucking meet girls and stuff. But
yeah. Put gas in my car.
Yeah, I did ski a bunch with my folks when I was a kid, or at least like quite a handful of times, and I was decent. Like by the time the last couple times I went, I would do the same. I'd warm up on a blue, and then a few runs in, I'm like hitting the blacks, dude.
Yeah, dude.
And
that's the fun shit.
Yeah, they are the fun shit, dude. And you're taking jumps, and then sometimes you see the weird cutaway. That goes like through the forest and shit.
That's where we were trying to go.
Yeah. Know? And that shit's sketchy, you know. Fucking what's his name? Sonny of Sonny and Cher died because he hit a tree skiing in Colorado, you know. So
Ludes are fucking gnarly, man, you know.
Yeah, was he on drugs when it happened?
I'm joking. I'm sorry. Like all you Sonny and Cher fans, I'm sorry. That was,
dude, yeah, totally.
I was out of line.
Oh man. Fucking God, I had a joke. Okay, so I'm doing these. So I'm doing the, you know, I'm shredding the gnar, and I wasn't like cutting my own paths, but I would see if there was one that cut away like into the forest, like off to the side. It's like I'll go hit that one because sometimes you could hit some jumps in there too. Like that's where like the terrain got a little rowdy too.
That's where all the snowboarders would like try to hit these fucking weird little compressions, you know, off in the trees.
Yeah, totally. And so I'm like hauling balls through the side forest, and I'm on my own. Like, you know, my mom's doing her thing. I don't think she did the blacks, although maybe she did a little bit. But I'm on my own, just cruising, and I don't know what exactly happened, but I'm cruising through, and I see kind of a little bump, you know, and I think I can see like a log coming off of it, so it's like a kind of a little jump made off of like a felled tree that's like sort of swooping down into like my path. I was like, cool, I'll take this little jump, and I hit it, but I must have caught like a branch or something coming off the back of this log that hit like the back of my ski, because suddenly it flipped me. Like if I'm facing forward, suddenly I'm flipped sideways and flying towards a tree. Like I'm in the air and flying towards a tree, and so I like swung my skis around in front of me so that like the skis were gonna hit the tree instead of like my body, and that's exactly what happened.
That's a good move.
Yeah, I basically hit the tree with my skis at like perpendicular angle, and it reverberated through my whole body.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Like it felt like I got clocked in the head, and I
kicked a tree with both feet.
Yeah, and I hit the ground and. Yeah, like, felt like someone punched me in the head. And, like, you know, it was, like, cartoon. Like, I had fucking little birdies, like, you know, just, birds and stars around my head.
Because your brain compressed against your skull when you hit the tree.
Yeah, I went through my whole body, dude. And it fucking, like, it racked me so hard. It was, like, one of the weirdest experiences I've ever had in my life. But I was terrified after that. And I kind of, like, got cold feet for the rest of the day. I was like, I think I almost fucking killed myself there.
I know what you mean, man. Yep. Those high-speed incidents get fucking weird.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But yeah, I fucking love downhill sports. I don't think my knees will ever allow me to do it again.
Same. I miss the mountain, but like I'm a little too heavy, man. Like the last time I went up on Hood, like.
Oh, that's true. I didn't even consider that. I weigh like 60 more pounds than I did back then. So like I'm gonna haul balls, dude.
Oh yeah, I had
I'm gonna be fucking Bowser on that fucking Mario Kart course.
Oh yeah, I was Waluigi for sure. You know.
Dude. We should dress as Bowser and Waluigi and just go tear up fucking bunny slips sometime.
I am into this.
Because that I could probably do. If I strap a couple knee braces on, put on a Bowser outfit, and just like go and run for half the day, I could probably do it.
Absolutely. Yeah, the thing that fucked me up was just actually having to use my pulse. Like, I never had to use my pulse before.
You never fuck
I could do it all with my heels. But like, now I'm big enough. I need some poles to fucking turn with, you know?
I'll actually, I don't even think I have bad ankles, but I'll probably put ankle braces on just to be safe too.
Fucking hey, man. Tell you what, it is nice though. Like I just love being up on a mountain.
There's really nothing like it, and and snow is so interesting. Like part of the reason I moved out here was to get away from it because I just didn't like it in my life all the time.
Sure, I mean I moved to the Willamette Valley because I was tired of digging boards out of the snow, but I fucking love carpentry. It's just I didn't like doing exterior carpentry in the winter.
Man, seriously. And like shoveling and driving in it and like just trying to get around. In fact, you've already told the crazy story of you wrecking a couple cars trying to head up to the mountain, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, and it's not the only story of wrecking a car on the fucking ice that I have. Like, oh my god.
All right, maybe I'll throw this one in there. Actually, I will throw this one in there. So this is less of a snow story, but an ice story.
I mean,
and
it's all kit and caboodle, dude.
One that I was like tried to tell at one point, I think, and we like scrapped the episode or whatever. But there was this one night that me and my friend Abe. So if you go back and listen to the episode about the robbery, he was the cat who got shot. So this is always like a weird one for me because it just felt like I was like. He was in peril when I was around, like, often. Man, just one of those things, But yeah, and so in my hometown, there's a reservoir, because we're right on the foothills, and there's a reservoir, and then there's, like, the actual mountains behind that. But you could go and just drive along the reservoir edge, and it kind of got you out of town, and you were kind of in mountains, but you're kind of taking this, like, weird mountain trail just around this lake, basically. But it was a great fucking drive if you were just trying to smoke weed because you kind of would just like start at one end, run the whole length of the town, and then you could either go back into town and get to where you were going or just like run it back and then go back home. And so we were doing that, but it is interesting kind of the way it goes is like there's kind of like these big rock outcroppings like every so often, and it's kind of like cut into where the streets from town like get you up to this reservoir road. And so there's kind of some sharp turns around there, and then there's kind of some cliffs that go into that reservoir. And it was a totally chill night. We weren't doing anything except just wanted to like go and smoke a bowl. I could blame being high, and I probably should, but we were a little high, but we hadn't even like I think we had only smoked our like first bowl or whatever. And we're cruising, and it had just snowed, but it had also just melted. But, fucking black ice is a thing. And, and I came around this corner and just hit this tiny little patch. And, half the time you can see the glare, because there's even streetlights up there and stuff. Half the time you can see the glare, but I didn't see it. And I caught this tiny little patch, and I did, so 360... Yeah, so I guess it was a full 360, like, across the road, like, across the other lane of traffic. There was no one out. And then into this little, like, outcropping that right next to me was the cliff. Like, there's a cliff. Oh, my God. And so I guess it was, like, a little bit more than a 360, because now I'm, like, now I'm pointing back kind of at the direction of the road. And, and I stopped us. I was a decent driver. I knew how to pump the brakes and everything, but I'm driving a 1976 Subaru DL manual. Thing doesn't have a ton of fucking juice in it. It's like Subaru's little sports car is what it was, but without the sport engine. It just looked like a sports car, but it just had a little 4-cylinder fucking,
Right.
And so we fucking spin, stop, skid, stop, you know, and then we're both just like, okay. And we kind of look around, and then we like look out the window, and we're like, I mean, we're feet from going over the edge of this cliff. I mean, a 50-foot cliff. Fuck. And I was like, okay, fuck, dude, like, we're okay. And we're both just sort of like shaking. And then as I'm sitting there, like with my foot on the brake, you know, we're still on a patch of ice, and we start like slipping. No. Like, we can feel the car just like slowly scooching towards that ice. And like, it was, you know, fight or flight, but I just fucking slammed the car in first and like punched it as hard as I've ever punched a car, dude. And it spun out, and then I caught like one little bit of traction on gravel, and then we just leapt forward, and I slammed it in second, got back on the road, and we were out. So damn. Yeah, fucking terrifying.
Touch
though.
And go.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, driving on ice, like, I mean, I think I've told this story about, you know, my first car on the pod. And my dad, like, the first winter that I had this car, I was like, Dad, can you help me out with some snow tires? And he was like, I don't think so. Like, I'm not buying you a new set of tires for your fucking car. And I'm like, how am I supposed to drive on snow? He's like, I learned how to drive on snow in a Chrysler with bald tires.
Right?
So
Yeah.
You
uphill both ways.
Yeah, you can figure it out. Yeah. And I'm like, shit, okay. And I'm in this video productions class for school, and part of it is that we actually get to go to the news studio for KTVZ, the local station, and like fucking help them run camera in the morning sometimes.
Oh, cool.
And the first day that I get to do it is the first day that there's fucking ice on the road. And they're working on the very earliest form of the Bent Parkway at this point, and I have to drive down Division through the construction zone, and this is the first time that I've ever driven on ice.
Fuck.
And I remember that you got to pump the brakes.
Right?
But I don't know when or how often or like what.
I mean, pump the brakes is like lesson 1.
Yep.
But then there's the whole steer into the curve thing, and there's the whole fucking everything.
And so I'm like going down the hill, and like this guy steps out in front of my car with a stop sign. And I'm like, no. That was a bad move, dude.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm pumping brake, but it's not doing much. And I'm in a Volkswagen 8 GTI, you know, and it's like starting to do the corner slide. And I'm like, this isn't great.
You're careening at this point. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so I steer into the slide, but by this time I'm like almost at the dude.
Oh, no.
And I'm like steering into the slide and pumping brake. And
is he not getting it either?
And he's like waving his arms.
Yeah, good.
And I'm like,
yeah, I wish that would stop this car.
Like, you want to hop in here and help me out? Like,
oh, man.
And like, he finally just jumps out of the way at the last fucking minute.
Shit.
I'm like, yeah, I almost killed that dude. Not really.
That dude almost killed himself by not jumping out of the way of a fucking careening car on snow.
I mean, I probably wasn't going faster than like, 20 miles an hour, but still would have given him a good fucking goose egg.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like after he jumped out of the way, I finally steered into the slide and like turned back in the direction that I wanted to go, and like fucking got to the news station, but was that ever a fucking adrenaline spike?
Oh my god, it's one of the most terrifying things when you lose control of your vehicle.
Right? And so that was my first experience driving on ice. And I had many, many more. I think essentially every bit of maintenance that I ever did on that GTI was due to snow and ice
really
damage
oh no
that I had done personally, no other. It was a single vehicle accident every time.
Yeah, right, totally.
But I had to replace an axle. Like it was.
Oh man, that's so funny. So that same Subaru DL, I totaled
Oh, no shit.
On ice.
Oh my god.
Single vehicle accident.
Yeah, I mean that's how this fucking Volkswagen ended up.
Yep.
But I feel like because of all of those like terrible early incidents, like driving on ice, like eventually I. Once I totaled a vehicle completely and was then given a vehicle that was suited for driving on snow, like,
What a game changer too, right?
Yeah. Like, then I actually got pretty good at driving on ice.
Yeah.
To the point where I got a little cocky about it.
Yeah.
And, I'd be driving the urban assault vehicle around and, like, there's nobody else on the road. Like, I'm just gonna whip it and give it a little juice and, like, slide around these fucking corners, It was fun. And after a while, I graduated from the urban assault vehicle into what we called the ice cream truck, because it had this big, huge, weird canopy on the back of it.
Yeah.
Oh no! I'm sorry. I was driving a different F-150. The ice cream truck was a 350. I just had some regular ass F-150 with a lumber rack on the back. Also, it had the name of the company on the side of the truck, which is going to come into play later. But, I'm driving this F-150 around, and, like, it's a really solid truck. Like, I've taken it off-road. I've done some things with this truck that probably I shouldn't have done.
Well, it's probably got all-wheel drive through. At the very least, right?
Exactly. It's got all-wheel, and it's got... It's got the thing that you can shift it into 4-wheel high or 4-wheel low.
Oh, okay.
And then you can even lock the hubs.
Oh, okay. So it had proper, like, 4-wheel drive as well.
Yeah. This thing was a beast. And we never put snow tires on it because...
No, you don't need to when you have those vehicles. Yeah,
Precisely.
They're incredible. Yeah.
And so, most of the time in the winter, if there was if there was a fresh snow and, like, they just plowed the roads but there's no sand, I'd put it in 4-wheel just to, like...
Yeah.
Especially if I had a load on, like, just to keep from slipping around. But eventually I realized that this thing was, like, way better than the urban assault vehicle at fucking drifting. And, I went from, like, 4-wheel with the hubs locked to, like, fuck it, 2-wheel.
Oh, shit.
And this one day, it's, like, I think it had to be, like, 6:45 or something like that. Because it wasn't quite, like, the time that everybody was going to work. But it did seem a little odd that nobody was on the road. And I'm just driving down Newport Avenue, which is a fairly busy street in Bend. Especially now, but definitely at the time still it was. And, I'm heading up to 14th Street, which is kind of the big crossover. And there's nobody on the road. Like, I can see all the way up to COCC, like the turnoff for the community college. Mm-hmm. And there's fucking no one on Newport. I'm just like, this is fucking wild. This never happens.
Yeah.
And there's a fresh snow, like they've just plowed, but there's no sand, which is essentially the perfect conditions for
so
drifting.
Everything's just a little bit slick.
Everything's a little bit slick.
Nothing you can't handle, and you can see it all. It's not going to be ice.
And it's perfectly flat, like, and I'm just I'm like, man, this bitch is in 2-wheel right now.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
We can do this. And I'm, like, getting up close to 14th Street, and I'm like, fuck it, man. I start going a little faster. I'm just like, yeah, we're going to do this. And I get right up there, and, like, I look just as I'm whipping the wheel, and somehow there is, like, a whole line of cars.
No!
Waiting to turn. And I don't know, like, the person in front must have, like, had a malfunction or something.
Oh, right.
But, like...
So there's just a ton of backed up traffic?
Yeah, and, like, it's on a downslope, so everyone... Like, there's, like, a dozen cars that can just see this F-150 sliding sideways down Newport Avenue. And, like, thanks to my training, I still had my timing down and just juiced it. And, like, just started heading down 14th, like, nothing happened.
Yeah, dude!
And then I remember that the name of the company is printed on the side of the truck.
Hey!
And I just start waving.
Yep. God, that's fucking great, dude. Oh, man.